my life would be without beer? Well, for sure would be a much more boring life, and I wouldn't have the challenge I'm having on the last 2 years, 2 years and a half of my life, for sure. My connection with beer started with two friends pushing me to brew, and I didn't want to because I knew I would have to do all the work because I was the only biologist in the team. There were two engineers that could making quotes in a consulting company, so I knew they were not going to be washing the pans and pots, but still they convinced me, and I'm really happy they did. And we started brewing in my kitchen, and we brewed some disgusting beers at the beginning, and then suddenly started getting good. And I was considering, should I really pursue science, or should I just go with what my gut tells me, which is go further on brewing, and I don't know if it's going to make any money or you can live out of it. And then I asked at Brouwerij Het Tij, what is the most famous craft brewery here in Amsterdam, if they needed someone, and it was exactly the moment where they were massively expanding, and they immediately offered me a full position as a quality control, and I set up a small laboratory there, which became bigger with the years, and there I became also sort of second brewer. That's where I learned from the master brewer there how to industrially brew. And then suddenly I got a very mysterious SMS of a number that I didn't know, and that told me that they wanted to discuss with me confidentially the plans to set up a new brewery in Amsterdam. And I thought, oh my, this sounds good. And I went to this address in the middle of the city, and it was Eimert van Manen and Peter Tepe and Jesse van Vollenhoven were there, and they offered me this. At the beginning I was a bit skeptical, but I liked the vibe on the team. Yeah, they offered me to do this together, so it came together with a bit of entrepreneurship, and I really liked the idea and the story they had to tell about the brewery. So yeah, I didn't think much long about it. I immediately said, yes, let's do it. There was once a brewery, it was called Brouwerij de Gekroonde Valk, so Brewery the Crowned Falcon, and it was once the biggest brewery in the Netherlands, and it had also a gigantic export to the whole world of beer. And this brewery didn't make the transition to bright beer, so to Pilsner, and this ended up in the depletion of the brewery. Now we have two basic lines or brands of beer. One is Van Vollenhoven, where we bring back in the market beers that were commercialized already 150 or 200 years ago by the brewery the Crowned Falcon. Those beers are strong and are very coupled to the Dutch history of beer. And in the other line we have Poesjat and Kater beers, and those are much more experimental, new techniques, new ingredients. We try to really surprise the client, and that is where I work with our own yeast and that sort of things. And the name Poesjat and Kater comes because that's what makes the link, the story, complete, is that Bart Poesjat and Klaas Kater were two very important workers of the brewery the Crowned Falcon. And they did a lot of social work for Amsterdam and for the brewery in the late 1800s. This building is something special. This was built in 1882, and it was an ammonium factory. Then it was for 80 years the animal shelter of Amsterdam. And then the developer bought it and restored it together with us to the original state of the building. So we have to, right now is redone, and it's exactly how it looked when in 1882. Indeed, we have a nice setup for beers that profit from being drunk fresh. So we have unitanks. That means that you ferment the beer in the same tank where you're going to lager it. So after fermentation, beer is cooled, and then we push the beer to one of our tap tanks that are hanging on top of the bar. Beer cannot be fresher. When I have a bit of time to just sit in the bar and have a beer with Martin, our other brewer, and look around, to be honest, many times I feel quite some pride, and I'm really happy that this worked and it turned out, and beers are getting better, and yeah, it makes me look even more forward. So that's a nice feeling.